Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Chasing the Cup. I'm your host, Toil England, and in this episode, I'm going to be recapping the races from Dover, as well as reviewing the races from Kansas. I'll also go over the news, and I'm going to preview this weekend's races at Darlington. But first, let's do a quick recap of Dover. It was a Truex sweep at Dover, with Martin Truex Jr. getting his first win since Richmond in 2021, and his younger brother, Ryan Truex, getting his first career win in the Xfinity race. And both races were pretty good. There was some comers and goers, although Ryan Truex dominated in the Xfinity race. And although there wasn't that much passing going on because of how Dover is designed, there was still plenty of action going on, such as with Chastain, Larson, and Brendan Poole getting together. And we'll talk about more about Chastain in a little bit. And there was also some interesting pit strategy to go along with it. So it was definitely not the worst race of the year, but I'd say it was behind Bristol Dirt and the next race that I'm about to talk about. But overall, it was a solid weekend for Dover standards. And so now, let's review the Kansas weekend, starting off with Cup. Denny Hamlin wins in dramatic fashion after getting into Kyle Larson, but Kyle Larson was able to come home in second after saving his car. William Byron finishes third. Bubba Wallace finishes fourth. Ross Chastain finishes fifth. Joey Logano finishes 6th. Chase Elliott finishes 7th. Martin Truex Jr. finishes 8th. Tyler Reddick finishes 9th. And Austin Dillon rounds out the top 10. And in my opinion, this was the best race of the year so far. That race was awesome. This was the first banger of the year. There was plenty of multi-groove racing going on. There was plenty of action, a lot of passing going on. And this race actually broke a record. The most lead changes in a single Kansas race. And of course, that finished. Both Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin were battling each other hard, and it all accumulated in the last lap when Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin were 1-2. Kyle Larson was up high and Denny was a lane lower. Denny was able to get side by side with him in turns 1 and 2, but it looked like Larson was about to go by him, but Denny Hamlin made contact with the 5 and the 5 went into the wall. Larson was able to save it and come home second, but Denny Hamlin ended up getting the win, and of course he got booed by the fans. And now we gotta talk about Chastain versus Noah Gragson. So basically Chastain was in the inside of Gragson. Gragson was up top, and Gragson was having a little bit of a good day. He was in the top 20, and Chastain was trying to make his way through the field after, I believe, a bad pit stop, or he got caught speeding, and he got into Noah, and then Noah repaid the favor by going back down and making contact, and Noah Gragson blew a tire and got spun around. Kind of like the same deal that Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson had at Auto Club last year, but this got more physical. After the race, Noah Gragson confronts Ross Chastain, and they start talking, and then Noah Gragson starts shoving. And then Ross Chastain, man, he got the punch in, he went phew. He punched him, and Noah Gragson tried to get another punch in, but this big guy stopped him from doing so. Probably Chastain's PR guy that stopped him, or a security guard. But in a nutshell, Poole said last week that Chastain needs a butt whooping, and Noah Gragson basically said, "Hold my biggie bag." And that's what happened there. But man, what a race that was. Tempers on and off the track, great racing, and a great finish that will go down in NASCAR history as one of the best. And finally, for the truck race, Grant Enfinger gets his first win of the season, and he's followed by Corey Heim in second, Zane Smith in third, Stuart Friesen in fourth, Ross Chastain in fifth, Nick Sanchez in 6th, Kyle Busch in 7th, Jake Garcia in 8th, Taylor Gray in 9th, and Tyler Ingram rounds out the top 10, and Tony Breidinger, in her Truck Series debut, finishes 15th. And that race was pretty good too. Not as good as the Cup race, but there was some action going on as well. Plenty of multi-groove passing. In my opinion, it was probably the best mile-and-a-half truck race of the year so far. And of course, we gotta talk about the Raja Caruth and Ty Majeski incident. It looked like Raja Caruth made a bad block on Majeski coming out of turn 4, and that sent the 24 in into the wall. And Carruth and Majeski confronted each other after the race on pit road and talked. No fighting there like the cup race. In my opinion, it looked like Raja made kind of a bad mistake there. He wasn't clear, but he decided to move up. Just a bad block, kind of like the Bubba one at Talladega. It's just one of those racing deals. But Raja Carruth was very fast, faster than he has been the whole year, which should give his fans some hope that he can make his way into the playoffs if he can keep his truck clean and stay out of trouble. And so overall, an excellent weekend for Kansas. They had their best race ever with Cup, and the Truck Series also had a great race as well. It was just a great weekend. And in my opinion, Kansas is probably one of the best racetracks on the schedule right now, thanks to the track's design with the multiple groups and the tight racing, thanks to the next-gen car. And so with that out of the way, let's get to the news. First off, we have the Kansas TV ratings, which came out earlier today since I'm recording this on Tuesday. FS1 earned a 1.35 rating and 2.352 million viewers for this race, which although it has a lower rating, slightly more people actually tuned in, with last year having a better rating with 1.3, but there was less viewership last year with 2.337 million viewers instead of 2.352 for this year, which means that viewership was up 1%. The Daily Downforce will be sponsoring BJ McLeod at Darlington this weekend, and this is Eric Estep's first sponsorship for the Cup Series, as well as other content creators being represented on the car, such as Jarrett Lundberg from The Iceberg, Darian Gilliam from Black Flags Matter, and Daniel Baldwin from Danny B Talks, as well as the guys from the Garage Guys podcast, as well as the Steam Vault podcast. TD Bank will be sponsoring Corey LaJoy for the Coca-Cola 600. Coca-Cola racing family legends have been named the Grand Marshals for the Coke 600. They include Jeff Burton, Dale Jarrett, Bobby Labonte, and Kyle Petty. Ryan Newman is making his NASCAR Cup Series return this weekend at Darlington, and he'll also make some other select starts this year for Rick Ware Racing. Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time Formula One world champion, says he would like to try NASCAR sometime. I'd say probably he'll want to try for Project 91 if he is interested. Bubba Wallace will be driving the Tricon Garage number 1 at both Darlington and North Wilkesboro. Bommarito Automotive Group will be partnering with Ben Rhodes for multiple races this year. And we have some silly season rumors going on. Josh Berry is currently close to signing a contract with Kevin Harvick's sports management company, KHI, and that has stirred the rumors of Josh Berry being moved up the Cup. It was announced twice during NASCAR broadcast recently that Josh Berry will be moving up this year to a competitive ride, and currently, thanks to this announcement, he might be replacing Kevin Harvick. So it'll be interesting what happens as we move forward with silly season later this year. Skip Barber Racing School will be partnering with Ross Chastain and DGM Racing for 2 races. And those races are Sonoma and the Indy Road Course. And if you're Michael Marutz, you're probably devastated over this one. Legacy Motor Club will be switching to Toyota starting in 2024. RCR has lost its appeal for the Martinsville penalties. Ron Hornaday, Mike Skinner, and Jeff Hammond have been named as the Tyson 250 dignitaries at North Wilkesboro. NASCAR and SiriusXM have agreed to a multi-year extension of their current broadcast agreement. Alex Bowman will be missing 3 to 4 weeks of racing after a sprint car crash, and Josh Berry has been subbing in. Kyle Larson will be driving for Colic Racing in the number 10 this weekend at Darlington. The next driver that could be running for Project 91 could be Supercar champion Shane Van Gisbergen, and the likely tracks would be either Sonoma or the Chicago Street Course because they do not clash with the Supercar events. And finally, we have the Talladega TV ratings. Fox earned a 2.58 rating with 4.554 million viewers for the Geico 500, which is nearly identical to last year's, and it was the best rating for NASCAR since the Daytona 500. And the race peaked at 5,847,000 viewers between 6:45 and 7, which was around the end of the race, and according to Nielsen, the viewership was up a tick from 4.366 million viewers last last year. And so that's it for this week's news. Now it's time to preview this weekend's races at Darlington. Starting with the truck race, we have the Buckle Up South Carolina 200. The race will be 147 laps and 200.8 miles. And the race will be on May 12th. At 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And so for my pick, I'm going to go with William Byron. KBM is looking for their 100th win all time, and I think Byron, with how fast he's been, and because of how fast the 51 has been, I think William Byron will score the 100th victory for KBM before Kyle Busch wins it by winning at Darlington. Next up for the Xfinity race, we have the Shriners Children's 200. The race will be 147 laps and 200.1 miles, and the race will be on May 13th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And so for my pick, I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson will be driving in the Colic number 10, and it's been fast this year with AJ Allmendinger getting the win at Coda and Derek Kraus being fast in his starts, and I think Kyle Larson will win this weekend at Darlington. And finally for the Cup race, we have the Goodyear 400. The race will be 293 laps and 400.2 miles, and the race will be on May 14th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And so for my pick, I'm going to go with William Byron. William Byron was so close to winning this race last year, but Joey Logano moved him out of the way and put him in the wall. But I think this time, William Byron will avenge that loss last year by winning at Darlington. And so that's it for this week's episode, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe for more. If you're going out to Darlington this weekend, I hope you have a good time. If you're not, have a good time wherever you are, and I'll see you next week.